Everything about this car is taking risks. It's trying something genuinely new and different that had never really been tried before. And it was kind of a flop. I don't think it's the car maker's fault. I think it's your fault. I think it's everybody's fault for not appreciating all of the amazing things about this car, the Renault Avantime. Now, the name Avantime is actually a mix of an English word and a French word. It's avant for before, and time is just the English word for time. So it means kind of before time, before its time, ahead of its time, which is all very accurate. The Avantime was designed by Patrick Lequimont, and when he went to Renault, they gave him basically a blank slate. They said, you can do pretty much whatever you want, and that's exactly what he did. And there's a lot of interesting signature touches. Look at the design of this taillight. It's a beautiful taillight, and it's one of these things that I can't think of any predecessor in auto design. The Avantime was based on the Renault Espace. Now, the Renault Espace was Renault's mass market family carrier minivan. The thinking was that children who grew up in Renault Espace minivans would have such a loyalty to the brand that they would want to keep buying these kinds of cars as they became adults. I don't know if anyone at Renault had actually met human children, because that's not how they work at all. It would be kind of like if Chrysler had decided that town and country minivans were so popular, they were gonna base the next Challenger on the town and country minivan. It's not a rational way of thinking by any stretch, and yet somehow I think they pulled it off. Now let's look a little bit more at the design of the Avantime. All of them were kind of two-tone with a different colored roof pillars. And speaking of pillars, you can put down all of the windows like a true hardtop. And then when you close the door, it's all open. It's fantastic. And you've got two huge glass sunroofs. So the end result is like an open air, almost like a convertible kind of effect. And also amazing is how the doors themselves work. They're very wide doors. They're almost as wide as like an old American 70s two-door personal luxury coupe. Renault understood the difficulty of that, so they engineered this absolutely bonkers double hinge system. I think they call it like a reverse kinematic, or maybe not reverse, but some kind of kinematic hinge system. So even though it's huge and wide, it's not actually taking up as much room as you think. And the other thing about using a minivan as your basis is that it's got room everywhere. So you have this unusual hatch that has like a little bustle butt thing, but the trunk is pretty cavernous in this thing. It's just so roomy and strange and wonderful. In fact, let's take a look at the interior so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. Inside the Avantime, you can tell they were definitely thinking about everything from scratch. This was a very clean sheet kind of approach. They've pushed everything to the edges in a lot of ways, so you have a lot more general interior room, and it feels very much like a strange little room encased in a roof or a clamshell. It's more architectural than almost any other car I've been in. It feels building-like. The controls are interesting. So you've got, of course, a pretty conventional steering wheel. You've got a crazy little tachometer right in front of you, and it's all digital. The dash is mostly centrally mounted, and it's again all digital, but actually quite legible and quite easy to read. You've got a band of vents. I love how they did the climate controls. They clearly thought out. So the driver has the climate controls all right here by the pillar, and you've got your defrost and AC and stuff, but then you have a simplified set of climate controls for the passenger right here at the same point. It's kind of a great way to do it. Cramming all that stuff in the center console like most cars do, that's not necessarily the best way. It's just the way that it's always been done. So you have a radio, which is in the center, and this one actually is a stick, which I kind of like. This transmission's actually mated to the PRV 6-cylinder engine, the V6 that was used in the DeLorean. Here it's making about 200 horsepower, which for the era was actually pretty damn good. The rear seats are actually set a little bit higher so they can have theater-style seating inside the car. Let's hop in the back and see how it is to actually get back there. The seating back here is actually kind of great. The highness actually does make a difference because you do feel like you can see out a lot easier. And with all the windows down and no pillars, the effect in here is, it's baffling and it's wonderful. Driving the Avantime, one of the things you notice most is just the airiness. Most modern cars are kind of cave-like inside. The windshield is pushed really far forward, so the dash is actually out of reach. The front pillars are out of reach, and you just feel like you have room all around you. Plus, if you go nuts and put all the windows down, then it's really airy and open. Got a glass box all around you. The visibility is great. This is also one of the first cars to have like a backup warning beeps, like when you back up, it's had the ultrasonics that let you know if you're gonna whack into somebody. I mean, yeah, sure, on paper, yes. Trying to explain, yeah, we took a minivan and turned it into a two-door executive coupe is a hard thing to explain to somebody, but why should that be something that stops you? Like, all you have to do is sit in this thing and realize, you know what, in this own weird, perverse way, this all kind of makes a lot of sense. So I've read enough online about the Avantime from owners and other reviews to know it's a car with plenty of problems. People complain they're hard to work on, unreliable, thirsty, too slow, wobbly, whatever. And while I believe all of that is absolutely true, I can't help but not care because it's such a strangely charming thing to be in. You forget all about that. It's got a sci-fi quality about it, but the more Star Trek-y style where humanity has just figured everything out. And in 2003, when this thing was made, it was different, it was hopeful. And everything about this feels like that. It's new ideas, it's thinking about getting rid of being saddled with all these old traditional ways that maybe don't make sense and trying something new in a bold, excited, and just enthusiastic way. And I think it actually works. I absolutely love the Avantime, and I don't care what anybody says. So there.